There'll be no more sobbing when he starts throbbing that old sweet song. Wake up, you sleepyhead, get up, get out of bed, cheer up, the sun is red, live, love, laugh and be happy.
Yeah, welcome to another edition of the Red Robin podcast, sponsored by 360 Chartered Accountants and Budget Tyres Auto Centres, our sponsors for 2022, with me, Joe Pliard, and co-host Chris Johnson. Chris, obviously it's a friendly, so we're going to speak about that this week, which is really exciting. We're just going to do 15 minutes or so, because we've done the Wayne Parker Heritage cast, which was brilliant, and it was great to speak to Wayne. So we're just going to speak about the ground and the friendly. So for you guys listening, obviously, Craven Park, we've had plenty of names, haven't we, Chris? 𝐂𝐜𝐿, Lightstream Stadium, MS3, Hull College, Craven Park. Now it's going to be called the Sewell Group Craven Park, and it's a local business, an East Hull business that's been 140 years old. They've got petrol stations around the city. They've got, they're with my work on there, and we have Sewell's people in. So they were really, they've won awards, the Queen's Award last year, and they know what it means to be part of that East Hull community. And I think 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐾𝐿 was key for that. And him and the director of Sewell spoke really heavily on Hull KR TV about it. It's one of them things, they're pumping the money in. That's not going to make massive changes on the pitch, but I think it looks really good on the West Stand, about in the East Hull community. And the little things like changing the badges, putting the banners up, it just makes Craven Park look a bit more fresher, mate. And it's a good move for the club, isn't it?
Yeah, credit to the backroom staff for getting things moving so quickly after Hull College stepped away from their 3-year agreement. Obviously, the Hull College is still going to back the club. I think they want to get more involved in the community side and supporting probably the trust in the work that they're doing, especially in East Hull. And club acted swiftly, didn't they, to bring Souls in and put another big local company back in the club. It is really good to see. So credit to everyone involved, and there's no doubt that Soul are making waves in the city for the stuff that they're backing. They back a lot of Tommy Coyle's work. And we've seen Tommy Coyle supporting the club with the pre-season training at the down at the boxing academy. So, it's exciting times for the club, and it can only be a positive, that they've managed to secure investment into the club on the back of someone who on the back of another organisation stepping away.
I think the beauty of Hull Kingston Rovers, and obviously we're a bit biased, but we get to be. You look at the like Tommy Coyle, like Sewell's, like our sponsors, Budget Tyres, who have literally just put 5 minutes before we recorded this, that 𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵𝐵 and Year Shaun Kenny-Dowall have been today. 360 Chartered Accountants, they're all involved. You look at the sponsors who have been part of the club: Harrison Solway, SOS Office Supplies, them local businesses. Rovers have always stayed in touch with their community side, and I think Rovers do that probably better than anyone in Super League, for sticking to the roots and helping each other out and having these local businesses. And like I said previously, it won't make a massive difference on the pitch with a playing group, but I think it keeps these local businesses afloat. They've obviously got money to put into the club as well, so it's reciprocated. But I feel like we say we're the pride of East Hull, and I think we are in a way, because everyone sticks together, and having people like Tommy Coyle, having like Paul Sewell and the Sewell Group involved now, if we're all feeding from the top, from 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐾𝐿 and Neil Hudgell, coming down right down to us, the fans, then it's definitely heading in the right direction. Because as much as we've been doing well on the pitch, off the pitch, when I spoke to Terry Campese, when we've spoke to people like Josh Mantellato, Chris Wellham, Craig Hall, for the past 8 or 10 years or so, the club's probably not been the best off the pitch, whereas that seems to be changing now, and that can only be a good thing as well, Chris, which will probably enhance our performance and the signings and the way negotiations go on in the future. And that's what we want to establish ourselves as a brand, don't we? Like 𝐂𝐿𝐴𝐾𝐿 says, not just a rugby league club.
No, you're right, Joe. And for a long time now, Super League and Super League clubs have struggled to get these, larger national companies and international companies back in the sport. So it's great that we've got so many companies in the east of Hull and in Hull who are prepared to put their hand in the pocket and put their finances into Hull Kingston Rovers, because without them, we wouldn't be able to go out and sign some of the players that we have signed. It's vital that we all stick together, and no doubt many of these companies have got Hull Kingston Rovers supporters behind them. So, I'd urge anyone who's watching this, listening to this, to back the companies that are backing the club, especially backing the companies like 360 Accountants and Budget Tyres Auto Centre, who are also backing the Red Robin podcast.
Yeah, definitely check them guys out. I went last week when my tyre was as flat as a pant in town, and they sorted me out within about 5 seconds, mate. They were really good. I had a really good chat with them. Really passionate guys. So like me, you do, Chris, Kenny-Dowall, all the players, go check out Budget Tyres, and then obviously check out 360 Chartered Accountants as well. And before we move on to the friendly, mate, obviously we haven't done one in a few weeks, me and you. 𝐁𝐾𝐜𝐿 one, it was just me. I've heard you had a listen. Did you enjoy it? I really did. I mean, I had to get up really early, went to the gym at about 6 a.m. because I was doing it Terry's time. We did it at 8 a.m. my time. Sydney was about 7 p.m. But what a good bloke, you know, a bit apprehensive, I'll be honest with you. And he knows that. I did speak to him about that, about doing it, because you don't know their story, do you? And I think when you listen to what Terry had to say, as much as we've had so many good heritage casts, he spoke up there with the likes of Dobbo and Scott Morrell about the passion for the club, and people don't know the inside stories, and some of the stories and secrets he told was quite baffling, and it's quite good that we get to know that on the, you know, on the Red Robin podcast, when Mantellato told us that he was going to have to get a significant pay cut in the championship, and we just see it as, oh, they've ran away from the club and they've bottled it, whereas Terry's story told it different. I mean, I've had a lot of people message me saying it was a good interview, and they've changed their opinion a little bit on 𝐁𝐾𝐜𝐿. Was you surprised when I spoke to him?
Yeah, I think you know, for someone who only managed to represent the club 26 times,
Yeah.
you know, the passion and the affinity he's got for Rovers is incredible, really. And it's a club that's obviously close to his heart. He said he's a Robin and a Raider for life, didn't he? Now, which is amazing when you consider such a short amount of time that he spent at the club. I think, you know, it revealed a lot about how the club was probably being run at the time. And he's not the only one. We've had previous heritage guests who have all shined a light on that period, sort of 2014 to 2017. You know, what a great time for the club off the field. And you know, for instance, 𝚂𝐾𝐜𝐿 being taken to court, or 𝐂𝐾𝐜𝐿 taking the club to court because he wanted to try sack him because of his injury, and you know, just some of the underhand tactics that seemed to have been employed at the time by the club, you know, just didn't sit right with me. And it's these heritage casts that obviously bring these stories to life and put it in the public domain, because without them, you know, half of the stuff 𝚂𝐾𝐾𝐿 told us, nobody would know about. And for me, and probably for a lot of people, it's changed the opinion of 𝚂𝐾𝐾𝐿 and about his time at the club. And hopefully people are looking at him in a bit of a better light than what they might have done previously.
Yeah, and I think next podcast we can try and get 𝐂𝐿𝐿𝐿 or however we're going to pronounce it. For me and you City fans as well, mate, we're not going to touch on it loads. We're Rovers podcast, but we're quite happy, aren't we, with the news that Hull City's finally had its takeover. You know, it's been a long time coming, and I know me and you are very happy about it. And hopefully for the City as well, it's great news, because finally the Allams reign's over and the Tigers can get back to where they belong.
Yeah, just great news, mate, and it's been a long time coming.
It has indeed.
You know, it's been a bit of a sour period for watching City and stuff. So roll on the good times.
Yes, definitely for the Tigers and the Robins, and that'll do us there for the whole teams. But we have got a friendly, finally. It's been, I think, 113 days since I was in the south of France doing my video, watching Rovers lose in the semi-final. And this Friday, we go to the Dewsbury Rams. Before we start anything, I will name the Rovers team. I'll just get it on my phone. So we've named 26. So we are going to be with Brad Takairangi, the captain, Shaun Kenny-Dowall, Ryan Hall, Jordan Abdul, Albert Vete, Kane Lynette, Matty Staunton, Jez Litton, Louis Johnson, Corbin Sims, Jimmy Carnose, Mikey Lewis, Rowan Milnes, Will Mann, Sam Wood. We've got Greg Richards, former Dewsbury player and new signing Tom Garrett, with Will Tate, Phoenix Luali Tonga guy, Charlie Kavanagh, Connor Moore, Dan Okoro, Max Kirkbright, Bailey Dawson, Tom Wilkinson and Adam Russlin. We haven't got the Dewsbury side as such. They haven't named theirs yet, but you're probably looking, you know, their key men. They've got Chris Anakin, former Wakey player, Paul Sykes, a Super League veteran who's still going at the age of 39, Jason Walton, people like that. I mean, they played Huddersfield last week. Chris got beat 42 points to 10. They finished 10th last season. I feel like we should be beating them quite comfortably, but it's a pre-season friendly. You know, we're not going to get into in-depth in it. There's no need to. I think if we can go out, put a solid performance in, we get to see these young lads play, we get to see Albert Vete, hopefully Corbin Sims, people like that, get back into fitness, Mikey, Jordan Abdul and Rowan Milnes and Jez doing the combinations, come out of it with no injuries. then I'll be happy. But I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to driving to the Tetley Stadium on Friday because I'm missing my rugby league fix. But I'm really looking forward to Friday. I always like playing a championship team because we're not going to play championship teams, are we? You know, we've got a full season in Super League. It's nice to mix it up a bit, but not really expecting a fancy game. It'll be cold, it'll be wet, it'll be windy. Little journey down the M62, but 𝐂𝐚𝐾 Rovers are back, mate. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and obviously the friendlies come about as with Dewsbury being our sort of partner club for next season. So it'd be interesting to see some of their players as well, because you never know, you might see them lining up for the reserve grade team next season. So there's interest in both camps, isn't there? I think pre-season friendlies, whether in any sport, are pretty difficult to watch. But this rugby league pre-season seems to have been forever, especially with the World Cup not being on. I think there's been a definite gap there that needs filling, and I expect Rovers fans to be travelling there in good numbers. I expect there'll be at least 500-600, probably, if not more, will be going over with a lot of interest. But you can't read so much into who might be playing, etc., can you? Because the squad is a big squad. There's 8 players missing from that squad who you probably expect to feature in the first team or be there or thereabouts. The only thing for me that you can take away is just no injuries. We're desperate to go into them early rounds of Super League as fit as we can be, and the last thing we want to be doing is picking up any injuries.
Yeah, Rovers will obviously be without Lachlan Coote, Matt Parcell, Elliot Minchella, Dean Hadley, Ben Crooks, Ethan Ryan, George King, Will Dagger, and Frankie Halton, who tore his pec, which was a bit of a nightmare because Frankie's seemed to be doing really well in pre-season. I mean, yeah, our team's still quite strong. I mean, I've had a little go at making what I think will start, because he said the young kids, the 6 that have just been training with the first team, and 3 of them who have got the first team numbers this year, may not feature. They said they're going to warm up at half time. And if people are blowing, he's going to use them then. I think the bonus, what you just said then, Chris, we're going to see Dewsbury players who are going to be playing for our reserves, and the likes of 𝐂𝐜𝐿, 𝐂𝐜𝐿, they might be lining up for Dewsbury. So it'll be a great event. I'm glad we're playing Dewsbury with this partnership. I mean, I've just done a predicted lineup. I'll do it nice and quick. I mean, don't read anything into this. I think we'll go PLT at fullback, Sam Wood, Takairangi, Shaun Kenny-Dowall and Ryan Hall, Lewis and Abdul in the halves, Greg Richards, Jez Litton and Will Maher in the front row, and Jez at hooker, with Louis Johnson, Kane, Lynette and Staunton making the 13. And on the bench, I think it'll be Vete, Sims, Carnhorst, Milnes, Garrett, Tate, Kavanagh, Moore, Okora, Kirkbright, Dawson, Wilkinson and Russlin. But I'm really looking forward to seeing them young lads. I mean, Sean, Bailey Dawson's dad, Sean, speaking to him earlier, how proud he is of his son maybe making his debut, and people like Louis Johnson's dad, who you speak to a lot on Twitter. It's really nice that the families interact with us, and whatever happens, if they get a run out for 2 minutes, 20 minutes, or they're just warming up, it's going to be a great occasion to see the young lads. I know we don't speak about them on the other side of the city, but I think about 12 young lads made the debut for the Black and Whites last week. Leeds, Wakefield have put loads of young kids in. And this is what we want to see now. We want to see these young lads who are going to be playing for our reserves, these young lads who are Rovers fans making the debut in red and white, or probably yellow and blue on Friday. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them. I'm hoping they do get on, because that's what pre-seasons are all about as well, mate. It's a tick in the box and making these young kids give a bit of taste of first team rugby league with probably the team that they'll be playing for in Dewsbury Rams, hopefully.
Yeah, I suppose the only thing I'd say to that is, being with my old cynical, miserable head on, is that, you mentioned the bin dippers. What's the point playing a friendly where you're going to go where you've got hardly any first team?
That's it. Sorry to interrupt. They should have done it as a 19s friendly.
Yeah, but it's, they're not, and that's the only thing. I mean, as great as to see Rovers back out on the grass, and that's what we all want. And to be fair, the clubs have priced it sensibly, so it's a good price if you don't want to go to the game, and your expectations should be probably quite low about how many minutes you might see some of these first team stars getting. But it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see who lines up where. Whether you can read so much into that or not, who knows? I think you'll get a much closer look at the first team for that Wigan game at the Huddersfield friendly.
Yeah.
And I think you'll start to see more of a fine-tuned squad. But for me, the first 5-6 games of Super League season have always been at like pre-season friendlies. It takes such a long time for the team to get into a rhythm and to get a settled side, that The start of Super League is almost like pre-season in itself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the first, 3 or 4 games, it's anyone's taking in, and it is getting up to that full fitness. I mean, for the likes of 𝐂𝐿 and 𝐵𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵, I did want to see 𝐂𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵 in this game because I thought it'd have been a perfect game for him to come back. He's obviously not ready. Just a bit of a disappointment about the likes of like Frankie Halton and stuff who have picked up injuries. I mean, but one player I'm really looking forward to see before we finish up here, mate, is Tom Garrett. He speaks to the podcast frequently, seems a really nice bloke. A big family and friends behind him, seems very popular on his Instagram page, and he seems to be really enjoying the step up, and he's got the stature. It looks like he's got the physique to be a Super League prop forward. He's been ripping it up for Dewsbury last year. There was very, very poor. I remember when we'd signed him, I spoke to a Dewsbury fan page on Instagram that you might have seen, and they said, look, we're very, very poor, but we've got one player who we want to keep, and it was him. And I think we might have a little gem there. I say a little, pardon the pun, he's about 6'4", isn't he? But I am looking forward to seeing him go because I think he could be a real threat in Super League if he puts himself to it. He's probably the standout for me who I'm looking forward to seeing most.
Yeah. Another one who's come with a bit of hype and a bit of promise. And, you mentioned about Frankie Halton being injured, but I think you've got to expect that with these players stepping up from the semi-pro, going to a full-time environment. The training regime is going to be more intense. It's going to be more regular. So, I think some of these injuries are to be expected, but there's no doubt that we've got some players in there who are chomping at the bit to step up, and I really hope that Tony Smith puts some faith in them and we get to see them in the first team because they're hungry for it. You're not talking about young kids here, sort of Frankie Halton and Tom Garrett. You're talking about men who are ready to step up. So let's hope that they do get the chance. And 2 players, of course, who are stepping up once again are Shaun Kenny-Dowall and 𝐂𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵, who have been named captain and vice captain. What do you reckon of that, Joe?
Yeah, no brainer. I think Shaun just his second season with the Reds, and again, very biased because he seems a really nice kid. He's always in contact with us too, isn't he? And I think he loves the club. He knows what it's all about. He's very passionate. He's a very passionate guy, and it's a no-brainer, absolute for me. I think 𝐂𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵 as well, what he's done off the pitch, and he seems a very grounded, humble bloke, and he's had his altercations as a young kid and gone through the process of making mistakes like the 𝐁𝐾𝐜𝐿 of the world. And when we had Ben 𝐂𝐾𝐜𝐲, he's been there and done that, and he seems to have matured and getting this vice captain role. He was destined for great things, I thought, last season, and he probably was out missing cog, even how good we was. I think if Elliot can get back to anywhere near what he was in 2020 in a very poor 𝐂𝐿_𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵 Rovers side, if we can kick on now, I think he'll be a great asset to us. So Tony obviously see it, and Danny Maguire and Hodge and Stan obviously see them every day, and they've decided on Shaun Kenny-Dowall and 𝐂𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵. But yeah, I think you don't change something that's working, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they both go. And hopefully, we'll see Shaun Kenny-Dowall lead the Reds out on Friday, and then hopefully we can see 𝐂𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵 have a go next week as well with Shaun. But 2 very interesting friendlies, mate, and I'm looking forward to Fridays. Obviously, guys, 𝐂𝐿_𝐼𝐻𝐵𝐵 Rovers against Dewsbury Rams at the 𝐶𝐿 Stadium. Tickets are still arranged between £2 and £10. You can get them on the website, or you can pay cash on the day. Rovers first out of 2 pre-season friendlies. So, Chris, it's been great to speak to you again, and a great Wayne Parker Heritage cast. We've got more coming, and obviously we've got a big season preview heading in the next few weeks as we get closer to the 2022 season. So with me, Joe Appleyard and Chris Johnson, sponsored by 360 Chartered Accountants and Budget Tyres Auto Centre, this has been the Dewsbury Preview. Thanks, Chris. See you soon, buddy.
Take care.